as we're waiting for them to join us, who here likes to play games for fun? Put your hand up. Does anyone not like to play games and not have fun? Great. So this is basically what gaming is. It's people play to have fun. And if you look at anything from the metaverse to enterprise, single foundation of this is how are you interacting? How are you behaving? Is it fun? What is the user interaction and design? So this panel is going to have a lot of different perspectives from the hardware, from those actively making music experiences in the metaverse, and then those doing different design points as well around music tools. So I think we're going to get a lot down into how gaming is affecting these design points of the metaverse and virtual worlds today. And I think they're just getting mic'd up still. Are we ready?
Yes. Yep.
Great. Oh yeah, come on up.
Hey. Where will you sit?
I'll stand. It's good. Yeah.
Like that, we look at her like a queen.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, a brief introduction for myself. My name is McKinnon. I started my career as a journalist in the XR space about 6 to 8 years ago. And then today I have my own metaverse platform called Ristband. It's basically a virtual world based on the Unreal Engine. You can go in, play games, have fun. Any event or concert happening in the real world can also take place in Ristband, but it's much more than a 2D screen and avatars having a really terrible time standing in front of that screen. It's all about gaming and reimagining what that performance can be like. And then I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves, and then I'll leave a brief layout, and then we'll dive right into it. So Maud, would you like to
Cool.
start?
So hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Clavier. I'm associate and the chief operating officer of a company called VRrOOm. We do virtual entertainment in virtual reality worlds in various platforms like VR Chat, Roblox, Engage, and many more. And now we are building our own platform that will launch the 10th of January. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Melodie. I'm co-founder of PICO. Maybe you've heard us on the show floor. We're like putting some music out there. So we're building something called Patch World, which is a music creator metaverse who launched on the Meta Quest store in July. So it's accessible for everyone who has a Quest 2 to play. And it enables anyone to build musical world. They also create your own custom instruments. And soon we're going to release multiplayer, which will enable setting up concerts, produce concerts, attend concerts, make parties, and also jam in real time. So we're looking forward to it.
So my name is Elaine. I work in the games team for PICO. You may have seen at AWE, we just had an announcement, the PICO 4F Enterprise, which is a VR device dedicated for enterprise users. So some of you here may have been able to visit our booth over the last 2 days. Last month, we had an announcement of the PICO 4, which is our latest VR device, which is for consumers.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because someone who is in VR, I still find it super clunky, and after half an hour, I'm like, done. So their headset's like half the size of the Quest, which is a nice step forward. So we've already defined what is gaming, which is what this panel is about. It's people playing to have fun. And then we think about what is the metaverse. There's all sorts of definitions out there that are a bit more technical, but I really think it's just the next step in gaming. It's like more real time, more massively multiplayer, people building virtual worlds and having these great social experiences from all around the world. So it's about people having fun, playing games in the next step of gaming, but also looking at virtual worlds and some enterprise solutions as well. So I think first right now, Maud, you've done lots of experiences with Jean-Michel Jarre, who's like the godfather of electronic music. And you've been bringing people into VR chat, and now before your metaverse platform coming up in January. It's quite technically complicated for people who don't use VR or VR every day, but there were quite a few people in there who came there just for Jean-Michel Jarre. So how did you create that design experiment to make it easy for people to onboard?
So what's funny with the Jean-Michel Jarre experience is that we have done 3 concerts for him. The first one was a very hackathon way of doing concert done in 1 month, the whole team dying, and that's it. The second one was a bit more professional and called Welcome to the Other Side. It was done as Notre Dame de Paris, modelized in 3D, which is today inaccessible, with Jean-Michel Jarre avatarized with motion capture so he could perform in real time with his avatars. And to put some crowd inside Notre Dame, we used like fake NPC shadows to have a sense of people being there, because it's very big, Notre Dame, so it could feel quickly empty. And we played a lot with the 3D effects from the concert stage to the audience. So it was very impressive to see something that was in a cathedral, but that was very techno DJ with lots of effects. And a point that I like also is that the light designer of the experience is the real light designer of Jean-Michel Jarre. So he designed it like a real concert. So this was accessible for anyone because it feels like a concert, but it has the magic of virtual, of being in a place you can't access in real life, having extra effects, playing with 3D and mini games. You could also put some glasses and see other colors, jump from the first stairs to the floor and stuff like that. And the latest experience we have done is called Oxymore. The new version of it is playing this weekend. And it's more like a virtual world where there is a district for each track. People are traveling around the district, and they see screens with Jean-Michel Jarre, and this time we added also a holographic capture. So there will be his hologram and the screen and the gamification. And we bring into this experience both the people from the VR chat platform, so the people who are native to gaming and like to interact and run everywhere and take objects and throw them everywhere, / the very fans of Jean-Michel who want to listen to the music, to be very serious, and who are not used to VR at all. So I was doing the moderation in Discord and explaining to those people, like, hey, you have to download VR chat to do this and that, and all the steps. And it was funny to see them very in front of the screen, sometimes in virtual world, almost like in a church, and all the gamers running everywhere. So
Yeah.
we try to put the crowd together and to answer to some, to both crowds' expectations somehow.
Yeah, gamers are definitely some of the most vocal people online, and music fans are probably some of the most determined to get to an event. So when you have those two communities come together, it's pretty neat. Yeah. But Maud, I guess your whole patch, do you want to describe a bit about what someone experiences when they first get into patch, and then how you thought about this, moving a performance from real world studio tools to creating in a virtual world?
Yes, I'm not sure I understood the first part of the question.
So when you think about music creation in the real world, I mean, it can be really expensive to get all the studio equipment, you need space and you have time, but you go into patch and you can kind of have this like freedom of deciding how you're going to make music, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a tool, it can be a shape. So also the way you think creatively can be applied to your environment. So how did you come up with this conversion from real life to virtual worlds and making music?
Yeah, so I mean, it originated, so actually Patch World is the coming together of two different studios, which was my studio, my first co-founder studio, Edo. So he was focusing, at the time he was developing an app called MOOCs. That's when we met in 2017. And MOOCs was a kind of a laboratory, where it's a Rick and Morty style laboratory, where you had this weird shape that you could combine. It was VR. And you could combine it, and it would make sound and weird noise. And for this, you know, he had the opportunity to either use Max MSP or Pure Data and like use these kind of libraries. But there was so much to it that was not necessary anymore for the VR context, and so much was missing, which was about gesture and things like this. So they decided back then to just rewrite their own sound engine, so to really fits the need of three-dimensional gesture and interface. So he was working on that for this kind of weird geeky game, which was interesting though, because he released on Steam 2017 as the early access. And the first 500 user or buyer built about 4,000 new instruments. And they were also, like, some of them were starting to perform with it. And at the origin, when he made this game, it was not really thought as a proper or serious tool. It was really just like an inventor. And it was on purpose very weird and complicated and, you know, abstract. So he was doing this. And on my side, I was working on something called Hana Hana, which was a surreal sandbox where you could create hands and sculpture made of hand. It was also multiplayer, so I connected different museums. So I come from the contemporary art background. And yeah, the idea was connecting museums so people could meet in this weird space and start growing hand sculpture and actually collaborate and make music because the hand would connect with electricity and it was like a theremin. So you could play this instrument like remotely. So when we met, the idea was really to bring he's built this technology without really thinking about it, but expanded it in more world building and, on this multiplayer real-time collaboration. And I brought kind of the intuitivity, which was in Hana already. So Patchworld really came from that. And the idea then of like making music or designing the instrument, I think it was not about replicating existing instrument, but try to reimagine what would it mean today to make music, words that react to music, visuals, like sound for your eyes or stuff like that. So really going into some other dimension. Yeah.
It's great to see kids come and play. Like we watch what's happening in Roblox all the time, and Roblox, to me, it looks like a 20-year-old platform, and it is. So we're looking at like what's the next step. People are growing up in these virtual worlds, and they have a much more flexible way of thinking about creativity and experience and socialization. And I think it's tools and like platforms like Mod and Melodie that are really going to enable that next generation to define what is our metaverse going to look like. And of course, there'll be many different parts of that. And then, Elaine, I'm really happy you're here because in order to experience the metaverse in its full synthetic reality, that's really with the headset. Because I think, yes, we have a portal through our device, but if we're thinking about fully virtual synthetic realities, that's through the headset. So anything from a concert to music studio and enterprise solutions, you have to really think about how are you going to enable people to access this. Can you talk a bit about the design choices and how it's evolved throughout to the PICO 4 and what the new features are?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the PICO 4 that we announced last month in the keynote is for us the next generation device. It has pancake optics, so it's much, much slimmer and lighter that you've seen. It's counterweight balanced, so it sits very comfortably on the headset. It features fast charge, is another thing, which is very important. Obviously, it's a standalone device, so it does run on battery rather than on mains. So these are kind of very, very important factors. For us also, we have the PICO store, which is our content platform, which to us is very important. So yes, we have hardware, but also we do have our own content platform. Something that was announced also during the keynote last month was the PICO Developer Fund. So actually, we are also supporting developers. Because with hardware is great, but also content for us is really, really important. Mm-hmm. So the kind of strands that we're highlighting is games, entertainment, fitness, and social as well. So all of these things I think really important to us.
I know that Meta has Horizon Worlds, which has received a bit of criticism, and then PICO is also soon releasing the PICO Virtual Worlds. Mm-hmm. So of course, as a device maker, you also want to be creating and using the device yourself. So what was how come you decided to create your own virtual worlds? And where's that? I know you can't give away too much right now, but can you give us a hint about where that's going?
Sure. So this is PICO Worlds, which was announced during the keynote last month. Like I said, it's something that will be released in 2023, but it is very much a social experience, which is kind of very, very important to be like Maud was saying, having this kind of shared experience. The Jean-Michel concert is so, so important. It's very much like real life. We're all in this room together. We've all come to AWE together. These kind of shared experiences are so, so important to us.
Yeah, I think this is actually a great for the next topic, which is we all have the limitations of how many people can fit into one world. And earlier Maud was saying they used some NPCs to make it feel like when you went to this huge Notre Dame church, it didn't feel empty. But then when you create these virtual cities and you can only have 50 people in one instance, it can really easily feel empty. Often you also go into platforms maybe Decentraland and there's no one there, you have no idea what to do. There's none of this last 40 years of game design, it's just about story and experience and onboarding. So I'm wondering, Maud, how do you, again, going back to making these worlds feel full and making sure people also connect with their friends, but have the opportunity to meet new people and want to come back? What does that look like?
So one of the main lessons I've learned from building worlds the past 2 years is that tiny worlds are working better in our end for entertainment purpose, musical, because you feel really in a close crowd, a bit like in a club. Mm-hmm. So the tiniest the space were, the funnier the experience was. Even though Oxymore, we speak about district every time the people are teleported together in spaces, sometimes they're a bit bigger or smaller. But in the small space, people are gathering together and having fun. So even for our future platform, for now, we are choosing a direction to make the experience intimate. So you have intimate, small space with the artist. The artist will walk around you. You will feel almost like it's a private concert. So for maximum, 40-ish people, of course, the technology is going to grow into allow more and more people, but I prefer to master smaller space and smaller entertainment for now rather than doing a super big space like Decentraland you were mentioning. I'm totally lost in Decentraland. I don't like it that much. And to find your friend easily, all the user experience will be very important because it's tricky.
Yeah. I know we have some friends from the music industry in the house here today, which is really exciting. So I actually wanted to ask a specific question to you about what this is meaning for artists, because of course, like, it's really hard to convert a concert in the real world and just plonk it into a 3D world and expect it to go exactly the same and everyone has a good time. So how, again, are you working with the artists to rethink what that experience is? What's been their ideas in the educational process?
So to talk only about the virtual performances and not yet the hybrid one, because it's again another topic. For the virtual one, our preferred way to do that is to avatarize artists and to do motion capture on them, because there is other technology existing. So either you can have flat screen with the artist in it, but if you don't do a super gamified world, it doesn't work that well. You can have a volumetric capture, but it's really heavy and doesn't work that well today. So I really like the artists who are playing the game of being avatarized and accepting to have another appearance. And ideally, the one who are playing with this appearance, saying, okay, what is the purpose of my music? What is my style? And to play a bit around rather than wanting to be totally represented with high fidelity, which is not really possible today, is to play around this avatar idea. And for us, for our platform, what we are going to do is more between immersive video clips and concerts. So it's not like you have an artist on stage and you are in the crowd listening, like we did for Jean-Michel and Notre Dame. It's more the artist is navigating close to you and singing and performing, and you are inside his environment. He imagined with us. You are with him, so it gives a closer feeling. And it's totally a new way to create. So the first thing I say to artists is, okay, you know how you perform in real life? Forget everything. We start something new that is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because, well, I didn't know that was your direction, but with Patch, this is also like a choice we made, like instead of going for a festival. I mean, there are music festivals in the Metaverse and there are like, a bunch of stuff happening. But we really decided instead of focusing on trying to fit, because we're working on the multiplayer, it's already like in the beta. But instead of focusing on getting as many audiences as, like passive audiences as possible, trying to get as much intimacy and interactivity, like jamming, small parties, like invite a couple of friends, but really focus on what you can do together instead of how much crowd you can get into the space. So, yeah.
And even being for sometimes 50 in a platform, the sound is not well done yet to be super user-friendly. So when I go in virtual worlds, I go a lot into them. Where 50, I'm already having a headache after 15 minutes. So I'd rather have better technology for sound before being like 2000 in a virtual room.
But it's interesting. I mean, I feel like we will end up by collaborating mode. There's no way around because, like in a way, like since the musician, so right now it's quite a different approach. So like you're going for his motion capture and our instruments are virtual, but now we're also having with MIDI and mixed reality, you can have a real keyboard, but also some virtual instrument and stuff. So I mean, that will have different implication in multiplayer and stuff, but right now is this virtual instrument that also means like, okay, you're having a live concert, you're recording the live room with the concert, with the input on the instrument and stuff like that. You can replay it. It means you can also like come and start tweaking with the instrument of your favorite artist, or just like spawn another instrument next to him and start jamming with that artist and maybe create like a mix, a full like remixed world. So like, we can reinvent so many things. So I like the idea that, you're not gonna go like super like...
Fidelity.
Fidelity is definitely not where we need to go.
Yeah, I agree.
We've got 15 minutes left, and I wanted to touch on 2 points, which is one, marketing these experiences. So who's it for, and how are you getting to those people? And then monetization. and then I'll leave it open to you to bring up anything we haven't covered. So Elaine, for marketing, I know PICO is starting as more of an enterprise headset, but now it's really diving pretty deep into the consumer worlds. And again, how has that changed, and who's using the headsets, and who do you expect to be using it next year or hope to be using it?
So the PICO 4 that was announced is consumer device. This is the first device that we've had outside of China, which is really exciting for us. So we launched here in Europe, and we started pre-sales, and we're now shipping the device. For us, it's definitely seen as kind of a mass consumer device. You know, it's really important that those new to VR are able to kind of access and maybe try out kind of retailers. You know, that's really important. You know, people who are new to the industry to be able to demonstrate. It's for, if you've never tried VR, it's very hard to explain to someone what VR is. So for us, that's kind of really important on that side of things. And then in terms of content, as I mentioned before, we're very much about kind of supporting that content ecosystem for developers and creators. And we launched the fund very recently. And like I said, for us, the content platform for us is kind of just as important to really get those users engaged and actually, really find that reason to be in VR.
Yeah, I think one thing Snap did really clever at the beginning of its growth is it never referred to the filters as AR. And I'm also curious with PICO, how are you like reaching to these new audiences? Are you calling it VR, or like what are you advertising, the gaming first or the enterprise still first? How are you describing this in your marketing content?
So the PICO 4 is specifically consumer, and then what we announced AW yesterday is enterprise SKU, so it's slightly different to what consumers can buy, and that just means that you have different support, it's different needs that, So if you're a business customer, it's very, very different to your expectations and your need as, consumer at home. So for us, that's why it's separated out. And then your other question was?
Yeah, I think it's like, are you advertising PICO in hardware like game magazines? Where are you reaching the youth?
Yeah, and so for us, like I said, gaming it is important obviously because it's a very, very established industry. We've been, to date, we've released hundreds of VR games on our platform, and there are many more to come. Just Dance is a big one for 2023. So for those of you, I'm sure you know, so you see people nodding in the room, is a big IP originally for consoles, and for the first time we'll be bringing it to VR. These kind of experiences are really important, because it's, we have things that are exclusive to our platform, and also VR for the first time, So if you might have tried this game, but actually for you to kind of try it in VR for the first time, also kind of very, very social experience, kind of that we touched on. Social is important, for us that's kind of definitely a driver.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone here was lucky enough to try out the haptics gloves earlier, but that is something that is so amazing because it breaks that barrier finally where you can feel the digital assets or digital items or digital worlds, and it really brings it to life in your mind. So I'm really excited for this to become a part of it.
And you have to try it to know all these things.
It's so real, or your mind fills in the gaps at least where it isn't. But and then Mods, I know you've been focusing really like on the Jean-Michel fans, also on people in VR chat. But now you're coming up with your own Metaverse platform in January. It's a French Metaverse, so like really promoting the French culture and artists. But again, like how are you marketing this to reach your audience, and what's the reaction been?
So this time we are working with a marketing agency because finally it's not our strength inside VRrOOm. But what they did is first to catch partners, including PICO. So it's really about having partners helping us marketing. We have Deezer also as partners. So as they are strong in the music industry, of course, they're going to advertise for us. We did a campaign in the subway in Paris. It sounds very old school, but actually it works for some reasons. And we try to catch also the Discord servers of other immersive platforms. And most and for all, because we're going to have 3 artists that have their own fans and crowd, so they will also market for us somehow, advertising about the show, plus their music labels. The one we negotiated the artist with, for example, one of the artists is from Warner France. So Warner France is going to help us with the marketing, VRrOOm Music and Deezer, so it's a whole bunch of people helping us.
Yeah.
But I won't do it, so it's fine.
No, it's great. I think it's really important that we're not just like advertising the XR community, but we're looking at who's going to be using it in the future, and then onboarding them into the experience. Something familiar like concerts and music that they can bring their friends to. Melodie, for you, I know Patch XR has actually just been launched quite recently. So what have you found? What's worked? What have you struggled with? What's next for marketing and reaching your fans?
So
who are they?
Actually, we haven't started marketing.
Okay.
So this is we were waiting for the social features to be ready to start, a marketing campaign. And to be really honest, we don't have yet a full plan to what we're gonna do to market the game. But of course, the game, the platform. But right now, it's obviously it's reaching out platform that have creators. Hopefully getting some reviews on outside of VR and tech magazines, get out to the grand public. Because what we've noticed is that people actually buy Quest to get to patch. And it's happened kind of more like that than just having a Quest and just buying patch. So people find us, they've been looking for something like this, and they buy a Quest to get to patch. So that's why we think marketing outside of the ecosystem is going to be for us the key, and having a few ambassadors will be inevitable. So yeah, we are scouting today for people to create compelling stuff, and people with already followings, and yeah. But I think the biggest difference between what you guys are doing or other production studios are doing, professional studios, that you need to have kind of stars to bring people in because there's a lot of production cost. Your team basically, and we're more creative focused. So we want basically empowering bedroom creator, anyone to bring their own community. So there would be actually not much cost on our side as soon as the creator community is going. So yeah, that's
great. So we have 8 minutes. I also want to leave 5 minutes for you guys to all answer questions. So I see it's a full room, which I'm really happy about. So we're going to have 2 minutes about quick question on monetization. So I know we all know how much PICO is selling for, but I'm also wondering, are you guys relying on the in-store app purchases for a lot of that monetization, or is it purely the hardware?
No, so our content store is very much a paid download store. So yes, you can monetize the same way.
Okay. And are you guys selling tickets? What's your route to monetization?
So we're going to copy for most events monetization, which means tickets, sponsoring, but not over having too much 2D images, more like a 3D object you can interact and have fun with. But for brands, for example, for South by Southwest, we did a flying car by Volkswagen, flying taxi. So it's fun to see a Volkswagen, to be inside and to fly in the sky rather than seeing Volkswagen in the world. And merchandising we'll have for the avatars. And we think, but it will be a layer for way later to implement maybe some cryptocurrency and NFTs, but it's not our immediate focus.
Melodie, I know patch is $29.99, but how did you guys arrive at that price point?
It was a discussion. Let's say because we have a partnership with Meta, and if we wanted to have any support from Meta in terms of marketing and being promoted on the store, we had to be a paid app. So this was part of actually the deal. Then it's about are you being compared to the top apps, or are you compared to the less amazing, or so we were okay, that's because the plan is also the first release was only the beginning, and already we had 4 updates since July, and we have a lot coming, and all these free updates. So yeah, we went for the top kind of the top price on store, but this is definitely not ideal for us because in a way it's in between, because our real pro creators would pay most likely above 200 a year to as a subscription to get the tool, because it's actually extremely powerful. But if we want to get more crowd and more just casual audiences, the app should be a lot cheaper. So at the moment, we need to reassess pretty much the piece, how we're going to deal with this. We're going to do a web viewer next year, which will enable just people joining in and for free. And now Meta is actually changing, enabling new business model, try for free, for example, which is great because when you're a new studio, you have not really made your name outside, and the entry price is $30. It's really, a lot of hesitation before people get in, and especially when you're like something people cannot relate to. We're not a simulation of something that exists before. So yeah, we see a lot of interest, but also a lot of like waiting. What is it? What's going on? So yeah, this entry for free that Meta just enabled, I think like 2 days ago, I think will make a big difference. So I'm excited to see some results.
It almost goes back to like the shareware days of gaming, where you'd send out your little sample for free, and then if someone liked it, you mailed them out the full version. So it's pretty cool to see this also happening now in XR, and I think a lot of people who didn't grow up playing games, going back to the original title of this panel, which is about the role of gaming in the metaverse, is that people have been living in virtual worlds, buying digital assets, hanging out with friends, spending like 20 hours a week in these spaces for 40 years. So now we're looking at, again, what does that mean in Metaverse and XR? And it's really an extension of that, an extension of those monetization models. I still think it's really hard in your headset to make a transaction. So the in-game, in-app purchases are still, like, they're evolving. But again, it's good to see the pioneers in this space making it possible. So yeah, we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to open the floor to questions from the audience. I don't know if there's a mic, or if you want to project your voice or come stand up here. Who's got a question? Yeah? Actually, is this mic work? Okay, great. Here.
I have a question, but I don't know how to. Hi, I'm Gabs. Anyway, hello, everybody. I have a question that I'm not sure if it's a question even, but I will try my best. It's for Elaine.
Elaine, yes.
Elaine. I have my own immersive entertainment studio in Vienna, and we have created an experience, a shared experience, a Sherlock Holmes experience, but only for one headset, no? Because we use the avatar system from one headset. So we would like to know, like, if we can get the support of PICO somehow to port the experience to PICO, to have it available as well to as many people as possible through your devices. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here, but
No,
you don't have to reply it, but something to think about.
So yeah, my role is in the games team and for the PICO platform. Yeah, always happy to have a conversation with creators and developers. So yeah, let's connect after this talk.
Okay.
Really happy to have a talk.
Let's go for the mic. And any other questions? All right, well, we'll wrap up early then to give you guys a chance to approach the panelists individually. And thank you very much for coming out here today. And I'm excited for where the journey and the road leads to next.